lads and lasses, and g'day, mates. Welcome to another episode of the Toon podcast. Your mates, all the way over here in Australia, back with another poddy. I've got Bobby and Keegan joining me today. We're going to be talking about the game against City, which ended 1-0 to the hosts. Before we get into that, please give us a like and subscribe on all the usual platforms. Help us get this podcast rocking. And actually, before we even get into the game itself, let's just cover a little bit of information that broke just the other day. It's on everyone's lips. It's the revelation that Adidas will be the new kit sponsor from the 24-25 season, so next year. There's a slight suggestion that this might have been leaked, sort of not necessarily or not entirely accidentally. I wouldn't be at all surprised if this was done in collaboration with Amazon in some way or other, because it was revealed as such via the episodes 3 and 4, I think it was, particularly 4, I believe, of We Are Newcastle United, which was leaked in quotes onto Amazon Prime a little bit earlier than planned. And then the internet just exploded. Newcastle hashtag goes absolutely crazy. News that really did just come out of the blue. And then a short time afterwards, Adidas themselves released a little kind of teaser video, and the club retweeted it, almost as if it was planned. Who knows? Bobby first. I'll be honest, I actually thought we were stuck with Castro until like 2056 or whenever their contract was due to finish, with like $400 a year, that appears. Were you surprised? That just took me completely by surprise.
I'm surprised it's come quicker than I thought, but I'd been talking and hearing that Silverstone had been talking to Adidas. He's got great links with Adidas through his time with Arsenal, and they were trying, but I didn't think it could happen. You know, you could get rid of someone. They must have got paid out a crapload, Castori, to just go early and made it happen. But it's happened, and it's happened quick, and it's great news because I think Adidas and Newcastle, you know, it's meant to be.
Everyone, of course, instantly thinks about the 94-95 season. Or was it 95-96? I forget. Where you know, Newcastle are challenging for the title. We've got Adidas as our kit sponsor following Asics. Keegs, you've just went and got yourself that very nice sexual blue strip, blue and black strip.
Carbon.
As you were saying just before, Carbon, that's right. As you were saying just before we came on here, they do these things every year. What was your dad saying? What was he deciding to do with the current kit?
Well, yeah, he was flat because he was going to get this away shirt with Miggy on the back of it, and then he said no, he's not going to get it because we're going to Adidas next year. And I tried to explain to him that it doesn't really matter. They change kits every year. Like your kit will be out of date in sort of 10 months' time, but he's put that on hold. He's dead keen that Adidas are back. So it's interesting. I've never known any other sport or fan base in the world that's so enamored with a kit supplier like we've been with Adidas. You never ever hear about anyone else.
Let's think about it. They've produced the best kit on any football club ever. With us. That is the number one kit that's ever been produced. Yeah. So that's where the affirmation comes from, I think. And if we can get something like that, that would be fantastic.
Do you have that on the wall behind you there, Keegs?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's just above my shoulder there. I think two of my favorite kits. Which way am I going?
That one.
Are the two the two Adidas ones next to each other. The one with the collar and the one with the buttons down the middle there. They're probably two of my favorite kits as well. I just hope that everything they submit has to get ticked off by the club, and we don't get a monstrosity like Juventus have got this year with the squiggly, fuzzy lines and all that sort of stuff. Hopefully, we stick with solid patterns and everyone's happy. I'll tell you what, they'll I don't know how much the deal is, but they'll make that if they re-release like the training kit from the mid-90s, they'll make their money back in 12 months.
I think that's what will happen. To be honest, I think that's what will happen. I think they'll go very retro back in history and stuff like that. They, especially in the first couple of ones, I think that's bound to happen because they want to bring that connection back again. And I think those will be the biggest sale shirts ever.
I'll tell you who'll be flat. Imagine the blokes on eBay that have been selling them for like $400 in jackets. They're going to be out of business now.
Yeah. What kind of figure would you suggest, Bobby, would be what we might expect per year from Adidas for this deal?
Oh, geez. Well, what are we on? $7 million for Castor. So anything over that's nice. What would I take? I don't know. I've got to have a look and see what everyone else is on. But anywhere from above 25 million, I think, would be good. I'm hearing figures in the 40s. That'd be even better. So, but whatever it does, I think this deal is going to be much beneficial for us. And I think we're going to see, that commercial side of things grow. And we don't know what it is, because it could be just the shirt manufacturers, but it could also be, training ground or something along those lines as well. We don't know. So, yeah, look forward to seeing the figure, because I can guarantee it won't be your £7 million per year.
No. Yeah. I mean, if it's 40 million, I don't know if that was dollars or quid, but if you add that along with what we're getting from seller, our commercial income has just went through the roof in the space of what seems like a few months. Obviously, it's all been going on behind the scenes for a long, long time, but it would represent a tremendous turnaround for the club. Let's wait and see what happens on, I think, was it the 1st of September? Was that the reveal date?
Yes.
Yep.
So we got
I
a
wonder
full year to wait, thereabouts.
I wonder
Be
if
interesting to see, that they release some shit, if there's something they can release in their contract, like start releasing them training, that retro training kit again, without, like, I know they've already signed, or Castor is still the deal. I wonder if they're allowed to do that.
Be surprised,
Hope
wouldn't
so.
you? Be surprised. We can wait and see. All right, well, let's just see how that turns out. But very interesting news, and yeah, pretty much everyone's very excited to see what happens. Miggy on the back. Give your dad a slap, will you? All right, moving on. Let's let's talk about the game at the weekend. It was Man City 1, Newcastle United 0. Let's get the teams up. We'll go through this quickly. Starting with Man City, it was Edison, Walker, Akinja. Oh God, I'm going to get this wrong. Diaz, Guardiola, Rodrigo, Kovacic, Foden, Grealish, Alvarez, and Haaland. Only 2 changes, surprisingly to me at least, since from the team that played in Europe on Wednesday. Bobby, were you surprised by that? I know they're the fantastic team. They've got huge amounts of depth, but I sort of assumed, given the short turnaround, that there'd be a few more than 2 changes. Were you surprised?
Yeah, you never know, and you think there would, but he obviously, from everything Pep said about us, he obviously thinks that we're the big challenger, or one of the big challengers to them. So I guess he wanted to play his strongest team, and that he has. I think it's a brilliant team. And you look at the bench, though, there's a few younger types, your Gomez, Peroni, Bob, Palmer, Lewis, McAtee, it wasn't flushed with a lot of experience on the bench. So, an interesting, it wasn't used. So, yeah.
Fair enough. And Jack Grealish still somehow manages to look completely shit-faced on this picture. Like the boys just been getting nailed since they won the Premier League last season. Keegs, looking at the Newcastle team, it was unchanged. Pope, Trippier, Shaw, Botman and Byrne, Bruno G, Tonali, Joe Linton, Almiron, Gordon and Isaac. Any surprises there for you?
No surprises at all. Exactly how it should have been, given what happened last week. So I think we're all looking forward to it during the week, and we all probably thought that this was our best chance in a long while to get something from the City of Manchester Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at the subs there, a couple of interesting changes. Bobby Livramento, for starters, appearing, and the missing Jacob Murphy. Nice to see Livramento on the bench already after his horror injury that he took a long time to get over. What was the story with Murphy?
He's a dad. Congratulations to Jacob. So congratulations, and yeah, he missed this week because they were delivering his, I think it was a son or daughter.
Yeah,
I don't
baby
know. I'm
boy.
not too sure. Baby boy. There you go.
Yes.
So the father-son rule later on down the track. So
yeah, and I believe he's called him Shearer. No, he hasn't. I don't know what he's called him. It'd be nice if he did. All right, look, talking about the game itself, first half. God, I love Fab Shaw. It seems like every game he's like a kind of injury collector. They should do a movie on him or something. Like every game he's just trying to get injured one way or another. It took 1 minute this time around, which is going to be some kind of personal record, to clatter himself on the ground following a jump and bit of defending with Haaland, under pressure from Haaland. Fair credit to Shaw, he did actually get his head to it first, but Bobby, it looked for a little while like Shaw had just done his shoulder completely out of the socket or something. He was down there for a fair while, wasn't he? What is going on with this guy? He just, if it's not a concussion, it's like popping bones out of joint or something. I mean, the guy is, he's committed, isn't he?
I think he stays down to make sure his face looks intact, so he doesn't have to. He's just so pretty, so he doesn't want to into the face. But no, I mean, I thought he was gone, and I looked at it and went, "Oh crap, what do we do here? We're going to have a makeshift defense against the best team in the world, and it's going to cause a lot of problems." And you'd sort of thought game over in the first minute, but no, he's a tough bugger as well for a pretty looking bloke. He's a very tough guy. He gets back up and battles on. But you're right, every game there's something that just drags him to the injury curse, and he seems to soldier on.
Yeah, we're a hardy bunch of good-looking lads. On with Keegs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, following that, for the first 15 minutes of this game, first 15 minutes, this was largely Man City's game. I was kind of surprised that they did so well in keeping hold of the ball. I assumed, assuming because they only made 2 changes from Europe, that they would be somewhat leggy, even from the off. But City being City, they're just so good. They kept hold of the ball, kept us running around after shadows. And I think the stat after 15 minutes was something like 75% possession to 25. No guesses for whom the 75 went to. But then we had a little spell, nice little 5 minutes, give them something to remember, something to think about, that we are still in this game, and they can't just have everything their own way. There was that lovely cross from Gordon down the wing that just went straight across the box, but unfortunately nobody was there to get on the end of it. But it was nice flash across the front there. Keegs, already by this point, Phil Foden was starting to look like Kevin De Bruyne's natural successor. Jim Beglin on the core commentary was just kind of rubbing himself from minute one. I mean, this is no exaggeration. From minute one, he was talking about how good Foden was operating in that KDB role. But Keegs, he's a hell of a talent. He's 22, and even in the first 15 minutes, he was very much running that midfield, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, it's frightening, the talent he's got at 22 years old, and I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he had an AVO out on Jimmy B after he's sort of carry on about him, because it was starting to get a bit sort of uncomfortable listening to it all the time. But they're really hard, and I'm glad we waited that extra day to do this, because there's been a fair bit of not information, I guess, but a lot of Pep's post-game stuff has been kind of not leaked, but sort of chucked on X today, and I think it's a tribute to us, I guess, how good a team we are now, how much and how much they changed their game to play against us, and I think that we struggled to adapt to their changes, and I think everyone says that we were not confused, we were timid and we didn't have a go at them and stuff like that. But I think we didn't have a go because we didn't quite know what they were doing, and we were a bit cagey to sort of open ourselves up, because we were trying to figure out what was going on, because they were doing some couple of different things and a bit of funky stuff in the midfield, which was making sort of our blokes a bit confused. So I can understand now why the possession was what it was, and why we kind of played like we did, because it was a bit unknown.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, following that sort of 5 minutes worth of us reminding everybody that we were actually in this game, there was 2 teams involved. Bobby, was around about 30 minutes, City get the first goal. Alvarez finds himself in a fair bit of space for the first time, really. Yeah, but for the first time, I mean, to be honest with you, this is like the first real attempt from either team, really. And he's in too much space on the edge of the box. Takes a touch, looks around, sees he's got all this time and space, and he whips in a lovely goal to the far corner as it was kind of curling away from Nick Pope, wasn't it? It wasn't a straight, and it wasn't curling into him. It was sort of going away from him. What did we do wrong there, Bobby? I would suggest that Byrne takes a little bit of responsibility for the amount of space he left when he was trying to cover for, I think, probably Kyle Walker, who was doing that to him, by the way, all game. But what did we do wrong here? What could we have done better?
I think it was a breakdown in communication. I think you're right with Byrne. just went out, left the space, and it always happens once against these. Like City's the best team in the world at the moment. Champions League winners, spending ridiculous money, all that sort of thing. But you can battle with them as much as possible, but all it takes is one miscommunication where there's, something like that happens and you'll get punished. And a lot went wrong for us in that play. Pope, I think he got a hand to it, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah. Just couldn't parry it away. So it's going to happen against the City team. So I think just the miscommunication, Burn probably, at fault for that. And then, give a guy like Alvarez a bit of space and he's going to cut you up.
And he was one of the changes, I think, from the European game, wasn't he? I think I'm not mistaken on that point. Keegs, at half-time, there was a discussion between Celez and Sean Wright Phillips on whether or not Pope could have done a bit better with that. And I think they eventually came to the conclusion that it was just that good a shot. It was essentially going to go at the side net in either way. Do you agree with that? Do you think Pope could have done any better? And just in general, was this justified based on City's dominance that they get the goal?
Yeah, it was. But they didn't have that many, I guess, clear-cut chances in the first half. Like Bobby said, you just slip up for a second and drop off, and then you get that's why they're the best team in the world. Yeah. And it was a cracking finish too. Like any shot that hits the side netting is a good finish in my opinion. And where he was and stuff like that, it was a great finish. And I know that there has been a little bit of unrest, I guess, with the loss, but I mean they're the best team in the world, and it took a really outstanding goal to beat us. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, look, I think the expectations, we've talked about this before. The better you do, the higher the expectations go, particularly when you're a Newcastle team that's starting from such a low run, given our last whatever amount of years under the previous regime. Expectations went through the roof. We then go and spank Villa, and then everyone's expectations are increased even again, and that's just after one game. So I can understand why some people are losing their love a little bit. But yeah, look, it's game 2. Jesus, we're against the greatest team in club football, and it took a mistake from us, and it took a wonderful finish from them to get the lead, and that was on 30 minutes. Nothing to be ashamed of in that point, I don't think. But look, apart from maybe Haaland narrowly missing the upright after that goal, I was around about the 41 minutes. I think the rest of the half was just lots of huffing and puffing from Newcastle. Not much else to show for it. And we get to half-time at 1-0. The very brief stats that I saw, 9 attempts on goal to City, and 9 attempts at goal and 1 on target. That was obviously the goal. And we only had 2 attempts, 0 on target. Just want to point out as well, just in this game, Bobby, do you think Gordon was a bit lucky? It was around about 25th minute to get away with that yellow that he got when he ran his studs down the back of Rodri. We all probably are aware of what happened to McAllister when he for Liverpool when he got that red, and they've never stopped whinging about it, from what I read. Or how unlike them, but it looked fairly deliberate. Obviously, the VAR and the ref didn't agree to give him a yellow instead. But did you bumhole pucker a little bit there?
Yep, I thought it was a red. Not because it was that blatant, but because it was us as well. Like we usually get, those sort of, what do we call it? The amber cards. We usually go the other way.
Yeah.
We go to red. And so when I looked at it, I thought, he's in definite trouble here. He was a bit of a lucky boy. He's got that in him too. Something that maturity will get out. But yeah, I thought he was a bit lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got that in his game, hasn't he, Gordon? He has that bite, that sort of slight amount of petulance. Who knows whether that'll get trained out of him or if that's just part and parcel of his of the way he plays. But Keegs, half-time, Eddie Howe was very angry. He said in his post-match, he even said that anger
So
can
was
sometimes... Yeah, he said everyone was. He said that anger can be a good emotion when you want to try and get a message across of wanting things to improve. Wasn't happy with our lack. He wasn't happy with our lack of application. Our pressing style wasn't quite there. Far too many turnovers. We all know, as was just mentioned, I think the keeper had one single save to make. But looking at the positives, though, Keegs, defence wasn't that bad. I mean, apart from that slight lapse in the first half, defence, generally speaking, was all right.
No, it was good. I think it was good for most of the game, except for that one lapse. And look, we keep going back to what Bobby said. It only takes one lapse against the best team in the world, and you'll get punished for it. But I think at half time, he's probably the thing that probably annoyed him the most. I think would have been the sloppy turnovers and the sort of the lack of ball security that we had. I think with the press and stuff like that, I thought Man City had some really good tactics to sort of counteract that. And a few times they went long, just 1-on-1 to Haaland as well, which sort of broke it all up. So that's stuff it's really hard to control as a coach, is sort of defending and what the opposition do when they've got the ball. But the things you can control is what you can do when you've got the ball. So I think that was probably the thing that was grinding his gears the most, was just our lack of care when we had it.
No, absolutely. Go on, Bobby.
At the time, I was angry because, not angry, I think I was disappointed. I thought we showed them way too much respect. I thought we were very apprehensive in our application, and we didn't attack the game. And that could have been down to the fact that Man City played different tactics than we probably thought they would at home. And then we found out after the game we found out after the game.
That's what I reckon. Yeah, it wasn't they were scared of him. They were a bit confused, like what, like this shit wasn't on the tape we've been watching all week. Like, what's going on here? Like, what are they setting us up for? And because obviously Pep's a wizard, so like, what are they trying to suck us into and catch us out? So I don't think we were timid because we were like afraid of them. I just think we were a bit apprehensive because we weren't 100% sure what was going on, and that's why I think we're a different side after half time, because Eddie and Mad Dog can get everyone together and sort of identify, hey boys, I reckon they're doing this. Let's do this. Like they can change everything up because they've sort of worked out what's going on. So I think that's why we're better in the second half.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think, you're right, Keegs. It's good doing this podcast a day later when you can. I listened to Pep's press conference, and he said if we kept it open, we would have got killed.
Yeah,
they would have destroyed us. I was like flabbergasted by that comment, to be honest.
Yeah,
because that's like saying that.
Tick of it looks a great sort of seal of approval, I guess, that they're worried about us too now. And they carried on a fair bit after the game. Like that meant a lot.
They were very emotional, weren't they? Even Haaland doesn't show that much emotion unless he's scoring goals or taking the piss out of someone. As soon as the final whistle blew, he was like screaming and hugging his teammates. So they were geared up for it, which is, absolutely unreal for us to come where we've come from, to have the best team in the world celebrate a win as much as they did against us.
Yeah, I think part of that, a great big part of that, would have been following on from the game on Wednesday and the very short amount of time to get a turnaround to get any kind of tactics or training in place before the next game. So you can understand why they'd be happy. Obviously, Newcastle are a threat to anybody these days. Even the best team in the world has to be on their toes. And it was interesting, you've already touched on it, but in the second half, we were getting in some robust challenges. It was almost like Eddie Howard said, listen, man, you stand nothing too much. They're doing what they want. We're not doing what we want. Get the boot in a little bit. Let them know that you're around us. Make them think twice before they do things, because they're expecting you to be up their asses. 46 minutes, Bobby. Isaac goes down. To me, it looked like a dive. Do you see that any differently?
At the time, I was jumping up and down like a dickhead.
So was I.
It's not till I calmed down, the blood pressure went down, and I looked at the replay that I thought, fair play. I don't think it was a penalty.
Bit of a soft one, Keegs, if that was given.
Nah, fuck him. It was a penalty. No. I was the same. I thought it was a penalty. I think it was it offside anyway, wasn't it? Did it get given offside?
Yeah, I think it would have counted.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it got given, but I thought there was definitely contact, but I thought he went down too easily from the contact.
Wasn't that the header from Dan Burn? Was that the incident where he heads it down, then Isaac goes down looking for a penalty and the referee blows for an offside? Is that what you think, Keith?
Yeah. I think that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, but it was nice. It was good to see that we kind of just went straight up the other side of the pitch and started to try and impose our style of play a lot more than we did in the first half. Golden, as we've already touched on, was again snapping away at players. He had a challenge on Ruben, and then Big Joe takes out Foden in the
And hurt himself.
the least well disguised foul you've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, I was going to touch on that. So Golden escapes any punishment, and he's already on a yellow. And I think Eddie Howe just got the shits at this point. He's thinking, we can't have Golden on yellow like this. He's got that. He's got the blood in his eyes or whatever.
It's the evidence. He's got to get the evidence shit out of him.
And he takes him off and puts on Barnes. And what does Barnes go and do with his first touch? Gets a bloody yellow.
And I think that didn't help. I don't think that helped the way we played either, because every challenge was a yellow card there for about 10 or 15 minutes. And it sort of put everyone like back to square one, like a bit standoffish again, because no one wanted to get sent off.
I think you're right, Keegs. I think the ref was just very soft with it, like with us. Like there was no yellows for them, and they were doing some challenges too. But every time we seemed to touch them, it was like a yellow card. So we were like, shit, we can't afford to tackle them anymore. And that sort of brought the game back down. Because I think at that time, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had about 80% possession or something.
It was just
absurd.
after that, yeah.
Something absurd. We had control of the game, and then all of a sudden we just had all these yellows and frees, and it's like, shit, let's just stand off again.
Yeah, it just sucked the life out of the game, because they just went back to controlling the game, and it was stop-start, and we couldn't get any flow, because obviously we all know that we're really good when the ball's moving and things like that. So, yeah, it just sort of took the sting out of it.
I would love to have been in the heads when Barnes gets that yellow with his first touch. To be thinking to himself, "Fucking God, what has he just got to do with his first touch?" I mean, to be honest,
the ref, they had they used to do it. You would have seen it, Lee, Bobby. I think we've experienced a little bit. Remember back in the day when Sky had the coverage, you can push the red button and you could follow the player for 10 minutes. Yeah. Imagine, I'd love like a red button where you could just have like a coach's cam. So there's just a camera on the coaches, and then as soon as you've done that, you could.
I called it in the last year. I said there should be a Mad Dog Vision channel. Like you should have Mad Dog in the little corner, just following him. I know they've changed the rules now. I know they've changed the rules, so he's not allowed to. But like, I just watched that the whole time.
Yeah, of course they've changed the rules, as you say, Bobby, and they've neutered the Mad Dog. He's just Mild Dog now, I suppose.
Yeah.
But Bobby, coming back to a thing that Keegan touched on. Joe Linton, he ends up struggling after that robust challenge on Foden. Do we know? And he was subbed off for Longy, but do we know anything about that injury? I don't think I've seen anything yet anywhere. Have we? Do we know any more?
No, the club is very secretive in this sort of shit. Like now they're like Fort Knox. When someone's injured, you don't know what the hell's going on or what stage of development they are, and you only find out basically when the team news comes out the next week that he's going to miss. So it's obviously a bad injury. They keep things very close and guarded to themselves. I don't think there's any regulations on injuries like there is in AFL, Keegs.
No, they're not a short, medium, or long term.
No, you don't have to declare the amount of time they're going to be out or anything like that. I think it's just very hush-hush, and we do it the best out of anyone. Like, no one knows. No one comments. Journos don't have a clue. I'm hoping it was just a really bad knock, and he'll be right for Liverpool.
Yeah, look, speaking of not talking about things, Christ, Lewis Hall has been seen in the stadium watching a game of football, and they still haven't bloody announced that he's signed here. What the hell is going on with this? I mean, jeez, it's ridiculous. Anyway, look, 59 minutes. Haaland decided to have like 5 minutes to himself to try and score any which way that he could. He'd been surprisingly quiet in this game. I think that's a testament to how well the defense was doing. Shaw and Botman. I thought Shaw in particular was making some incredible blocks. But it was like 59 minutes. He's on goal, and Shaw himself actually denies him, I think. Then he misses from the 63 minute while Botman's having a look after him. And then on the 64th minute, Pope denies him with his foot. Thanks very much, by the way, because that stuffed up my bloody captain on Fantasy Premier League. And I need some points. I need some points. It's been a terrible week.
I hear you.
It's been hard, man. 65 minutes. Bruno, he finds himself in a very similar position to Alvarez for the goal.
Yeah, it was.
And Keegs, what happened here? Did he did he just sense that there was a City player closing him down and rush it too much and just completely
Yeah, I think
balled
so.
it?
Yeah, he sort of kicked it off like sort of half a step, like not and like sort of half pulled the trigger. It was a really weird shot. Like you said, he was in almost an identical position and he missed by. I don't think he would have hit another set of goals. Like he missed by a mile,
Yeah.
and it was like slower than a wet week. It was hit with no power or nothing. It was just a really bizarre attempt.
Yeah.
He
Very
started
poor
slow
from
this
Bruno.
year, hasn't he, Bruno? He's because usually he's
Yeah.
composed and his vision's exemplary. He knows where he is on the pitch and where everyone else is, and he just seemed to fluff it then and panic. And I think he's just warming up to the season.
He's been on the Kinder Surprises.
He's been on the Kinder Surprises. We all know that, and he's just got married, so he'd be a bit sluggish from that. But is there any chance that having Tonali in the team has somewhat changed his role or his position? Is it somehow affecting what he's doing? Do you think, or is it just really just a slow start because of the close
I
season?
think it's just a slow start because, like in the first game, they were interchanging quite a lot against Villa. And I mean, Tonali was man of the match. Like everyone would agree that first game. So if Tonali can play well and they're sort of interchanging, why can't Bruno play? I think Bruno still had a good game against Villa. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't sort of up to the level maybe that we've sort of.
He got caught with the ball more often than he usually does in both games, and I think that's the telltale sign that he's probably more mentally not switched on as yet, and that can come with match practice and stuff like that. He might have had, as you said, got married, had celebrated a bit big, had a nice preseason, enjoyed Newcastle the first season, and he's come back a little sluggish, but that'll come in time. That'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, let's move on. So 69th minute, Bobby, our best opportunity of the game, I think. Rodri is robbed, I think, funny enough, by Bruno, right in the middle of the pitch. He finds Wilson. Wilson bears down on goal. Unfortunately for us, very fortunately for City, Guardiola does an excellent job of just forcing them wide and slowing down the move. And Wilson then eventually feeds Barnes, who has that typical kind of cut and shot across the goal, easily saved by Alisson. I think, as I say, that was the best opportunity of the game for us. Did we just need to be quicker in our minds with the ball movement in that situation? Could Wilson have released it a little bit sooner, perhaps down to Miggy on the right, to get more out of that opportunity?
Probably. It would have been nice to have Isaac in Wilson's position with the pace, I think. But I think Guardiola did well, as you said, and he's a top quality defender. What did they pay for him? 80 million pounds or something like that. I don't know. But
Jeez. 2 years of Adidas shirt sponsors.
he's very good. So I think I think Wilson's not the quickest, and he sort of got pushed to the side, and then Barnes no power on the shot. So unfortunately wasn't to be.
No, absolutely. And look, there's only one real other point to mention after that. It was almost straight away. Bruno fouls Foden, Raxi's studs down his shin. Not too dissimilar to what Gordon did earlier on. Again, we get away with it. Keegs, did we get away? Did we get lucky there again? Was that? How did you see that one?
Nah, I can't remember who. The same. It might have been Bruno last year. It was a similar challenge where his foot was raised, but it was just kind of raised, like there was no force through it, or there was no intent and stuff like that. So I think that's why he got away with it, because there was no actual force in it. I think if he did go forward with it, he would have been in big trouble.
There's more force in Gordon's one than what there was in that one.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, from that point onwards, we do get away with that, thank God. But from that point onwards, it opens up the game, surprisingly. It's just end to end. It's a bit like a basketball game. Both sides kind of finding space, running on goal, not really doing much with it in the end. I think I visibly saw City starting to tire around about the 75th minute. And it was around that time that we get our 5 minutes of glory, where we have the ball for 82% of the 82% of the possession is Newcastle over that 5 minutes. And I think that probably touches on what you said, Keegs, earlier on, where they visibly start to sit with, two banks of four behind the ball. in that your favourite low block formation.
Yeah.
Just touch on it again. Did you see that? I don't think it was all game. I don't want to suggest that they were doing this for large stretches, but during that time where Newcastle were really, really in control of the ball, and this is possibly a sign of a great team. They're not worried to do the dirty things or the ugly things. They'll do what they need to do to get through the game. But a sign of progress, perhaps, from Newcastle Keegs, that we can make the best team in the world think that they better sort of sit back for a little while and soak up some of the pressure.
Yeah, for sure. But it's also a timely reminder that we need to start figuring out solutions, because we're going to have a lot more teams that do this to us throughout the course of the season, especially those at
Shit
the
teams.
sort of the lower end. Yeah, the same thing happened last year when we didn't quite have the answers. But hopefully, with players like Tenali and Barnes and things like that, even Gordon, we have a little bit more quality in that sort of final third that we can unlock it. Because, like, as we all know, if we score first, we'll be fine, because that forces teams to come out and have to try and score and play, which sort of opens and plays the game into our hands. But the longer we sort of get stifled, the more we seem to struggle with it, unfortunately.
Yeah, look, and not every team, as Bobby's just kind of hinted at, not every team's going to be well enough suited to even make that tactic work for the whole for extended durations. Man City did it when they needed to do it, and then next thing you know, they're flying up the pitch and giving us more skills. But it was nice to see. It was nice to see us find a bit of possession and.
So I think we've got their respect, and I think that's a good testament for us. And what Eddie Howe's done is we've actually now got their respect from the best team in the world. That they do see us as a threat to them.
I do think it was also a large part of that European game, and it's going to be interesting to see how Guardiola himself touched on this, how we do with these extra European games on top of the other competitions and the league itself. It'll be interesting to see how we travel and how we do after we've come back from Europe.
How far we travel too could be a big factor.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think we need to sort of temper our expectations a little bit for the Champions League. But anyway, look, full time 1-0, lads. Newcastle are apparently still trying to find their first bloody win at the Etihad in the Premier League. While I think I read that City have now won 17 in a row at home. So
I don't think they've lost this year at home.
Yeah, well, they didn't lose this time either. Some final observations I've got here. So lads, yeah, so not bad in terms of results. I mean, not great either, but did it feel worse for anyone, given that last week we humped Villa, albeit they were dejected a little bit from Mings getting injured, and they were kind of a bit down on some of their other injuries as well. But we didn't really have a great deal of goal action. Didn't give Edison an awful lot to think about. Does it feel worse than a 1-0 to anybody? And is it because that we just simply didn't have those chances, even though it is against this wonderful City team?
It felt worse yesterday than it did today. That's the honest truth. Yeah, it did feel worse than a 1-0 at the time, because after the Villa game, and you see how fit we were, how strong we were, and everything like that, you think we can really take it to this Man City team if we just push. And you have this thought in your head, I don't mind losing 3-2. I just want to, I want to take it to Man City, and it sort of didn't develop into that type of game, if you know what I mean. It was more cagey, and you have to be more street smart rather than the full high active, let's go at them. And I think that's what at the time I was a bit more dejected by. But then after it, seeing all the comments, rewatching a little bit of it, and definitely Pep's comments, it was like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Are you the same, Keegs?
Yeah. Like I think Bobby's right, but I think you can feel two emotions as well. Like I think you can be a bit sort of upset at the way we played and the fact that we didn't try and have a crack at them. But I think on the other hand, you can also be, I guess, not satisfied, but you can accept that we lost 1-0 at home, away to the best team in the world. Like I think you can have it both ways, especially in this situation. But I think we do need to find some solutions I guess playing the big teams away. That's probably the next frontier that we need to cross. I'd back us to beat anyone, nearly anyone in the world at home at the moment. We're an absolute powerhouse, but when we go to these big clubs away, we just need to find a way to start getting results. Like think of last year. Look, I don't think we beat any of the other sort of top sides away. You think of Arsenal, we sort of battled for a point. Man United rolled us. Liverpool, we lost it. Man United
Brighton.
was a bit of a shitty game and stuff like that.
We beat Spurs.
Beat Spurs.
Yeah, they're not a top side though.
we got lucky against Brighton, didn't we? I mean, that was a game. Was that away? That game that we should have basically lost, but we somehow got a draw.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. It's still the point. Like I think that's our next step in our evolution is to figure out how to beat a really good team away from home.
Yeah, absolutely. Some other observations I got here. Jack Grealish just continues to fall over after the slightest bit of contact. I'm being slightly hard on it because some of them were reasonably robust, but there's quite a few others the way just went down and started whinging to the ref.
He's still drunk.
Still drunk. Phil Foden, still, again, 22-year-old. What an absolute talent he's going to be. I wonder if he's going to replace KDB, who was, 32 now and injured again. So it'll be interesting to see how Foden
It's a
develops.
long one too. I think, didn't you say it's 3 or 4 monther?
Yeah,
I got him out of my fantasy league, so
delete. Yeah,
it's a big one.
This could actually be. I know we don't want to turn into a Manchester City podcast, but this could really be his coming of age. This sort of little period before Christmas for Phil Foden. I mean, Pep sort of stuffed around him with a bit last year. He was sort of in and out of the team, and like I only know that because I was thinking about bringing him in my fantasy team, but I couldn't trust him that he's going to play every week. So I was following him closely. So hopefully, for your sake, Lee, and your fellow countrymen, that he sort of turns in just to an absolute world-class talent now because he's got the opportunity to do it.
It's bad for the league, but it's great for England in the international stage. Absolutely. Bobby, nice to see Livramento, get onto the pitch last 5 or 10 minutes.
Did he touch the ball?
Don't think I saw. I was about to say I don't think I saw a great deal coming.
I think he touched it.
But it's nice to see him back from that long injury. He gives us another option, especially when we need to protect
a right winger.
Well, he went to right wing as well. So
and he's rapid, apparently. Still, I presume. Bobby, what can we just very briefly? What do you expect to see from him going forward this season?
I expected him to go to right back, but he was right wing. But yeah, similar to what we've recruited lately. Just athletically gifted, pace, power. He brings all those sort of things, but he's highly technically skilled. Like for me, a couple of years ago when he was in the Chelsea academy, he was talked about as the best young right back in the world. And I think we're going to see some great things from him, but we have to be a little bit more patient, as he builds up, his fitness and his return from injury and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I think and versatility. Well, if he can play right wing and he can play right back, it's going to help us as well because it gives us options in Champions League games and cup games and all that sort of thing. So yeah, very exciting signing, and so will Lewis Hall be when we get him into the side somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you said that because one thing I did want to just quickly ask is with the way that Kyle Walker was hugging the touchline and really forcing Dan Burn, who is out of position, as we all know, to kind of make space behind him by coming to meet Walker a little bit. Is there a world if we ever announce that the Hall has signed, I'm calling him now, has signed for us? Would you be tempted? Maybe Bobby first. Would you be tempted to see him come in and then either? I suppose you'd have to keep Burn in reserve for when Shaw next tries to break his neck. Would you put? And also on top of that, do you think having someone like Holden, who's quite dynamic at left back, and I appreciate his favourite positions midfield, but assuming we put him at left back, how do you feel he would have made a difference to this game? Would you have added that extra dimension that we could have used at the transition from the back to the front down that left wing?
I think he would have. I'm happy to see him go straight in. But then you worry about what it would be like as a connectivity for the defence and how they work and how they play. Because obviously it was the best defence in the league last season, or equal top. So they had that communication and that trusted each other and knew where each other were going to be. Hall's a totally different kettle of fish to Dan Burn. So whether that communication needs time to build up and everything like that. But on your point, if he was in, we'd have had a more dynamic player going down the left. And it could have opened up more options for us. Who knows? So he's an exciting signing, but he's only 18. I know he's played for Chelsea and he's played well, but he's only 18, which is mind-blowing.
Everyone's getting younger. What's going on? I'm getting older and everyone's getting younger. Last observation, just a sort of one for the pub quiz. Pep didn't make a single sub this entire game. Not one substitution given. And given that they played on Wednesday and there was only 2 changes from that game to this one. Quite the surprise. I don't think I've ever seen a team not have at least 1 sub in a game. I can't remember ever that happening. I mean, I've got a terrible memory, but it just doesn't seem like the sort of thing that you expect to happen anymore, especially when you've got 5 that you can use. But anyway,
maybe he thinks you'll get 10 next week, so he didn't want to use them all up. You just carry him over.
Yeah, who knows? Rollover subs. God almighty.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at some quick stats before we wrap this up. Sorry, Keegs. Possession to Man City was 60 to our 40. Lots of other things in. 9 shots to our 2. They had 1 on target. We had 0. Obviously, their 1 was the goal itself. Oh, look, here's the stat for the XG wankers. 0.45 XG for City. 0.07 for Newcastle. And I think that 0.7 is probably quite generous.
What's the point of the 0.07 to honest? Like, what the?
I don't know. Someone's shoe list was, I don't know. Anyway. And finally, let's just have a quick look at the table. I mean, it's kind of pointless at this stage, but Brighton top it currently, and Man City both on 6 points. Brighton with a better goal difference. Brentford in 3rd, Liverpool 4th, our next opponents, then Spurs, West Ham, and then Newcastle in 7th, followed by Arsenal, Palace, and Villa. That's the top 10. All right, let's just round this up with let's see what we're going to do. We're going to do the ratings. Let's do the AFL ratings. 3, 2, 1 points for your players today. I'm going to start with. I've got Batman. Botman for 3, Shaw for 2, and I think I might give Miggy 1 because he kept on running the whole game and he constantly gave us a bit of an outlet down the right. It could have been better.
I would have given a 1 if he had a fucking left foot, but right foot. But yeah,
we all know he's only got 1 foot. But Bobby, your 3, 2, 1s, or you can just choose to give more than 1 person if you like.
Now we'll go Botman, Shah, Pope.
Botman, Shah, Pope. The defense getting the points. That's never a good sign. And Keegs.
Yeah, I had Batman 3, Shah 2, and who can 1 go to? I'll give it to Pope as well. I can't think of anyone else.
All right. I'll give Miggy a point. He was all right, man. He was all right. All right, lads. Thanks for your company. That will do for our review of the City game today. Our next podcast will be either Wednesday or Thursday. We've got a bloke called Wine joining us from Liverpool, Australia, either
Wine.
podcast or fan group or something. I don't know where he's from, but he will be providing, hopefully, the opposition view for our next opponent, which is Liverpool at St. James's Park at the weekend.
Big game.
Big game.
We owe them.
Right.
We owe these.
Yeah, I was going to say, Bobby, in AFL cliches, we owe these blokes.
We owe them.
Yeah, that's a football cliche as well. We owe them. All right, again, boys, thank you for your company. Thanks to everyone who's watched and listened. Please do like and subscribe and keep an eye out for the next podcast later in the week for the Liverpool preview. But that will do it for us now. Cheers, lads.
See ya.
See you next time.
Leroy.
Bye-bye.